We are live. Hello, I'm Howard Mann, creator of Conscious Shifting, and welcome to Conscious Shifting. Before we get started, a quick warning and disclaimer: conscious shifting and all known side effects will improve your physical, mental, and spiritual health while providing the ideal environment for spiritual awakening, helping you to live the life of your dreams and influence the world in a positive way. So, if that's something that sounds interesting to you, something you'd like to be a part of, then you can either follow us on Facebook or subscribe on YouTube and then join us here Wednesday nights, 6 p.m. for Conscious Shifting. We also have thought provoking daily posts, and you can comment on those during a live or during a replay of a live with any question you have, and we will respond from a spiritual perspective. So, with that, let's get started. We have a question of the week. And the question is, if we are spiritual beings, then why are we in human form? Why the illusion? Well, it would seem it would be a lot easier just to hang out in the spiritual realm and enjoy heaven, if you will, perfection. But a natural result of consciousness is the expression of consciousness. And so physical existence is an expansion of conscious energy or spirit. For consciousness to express itself requires a means of doing so. And spirit is expressing itself through physical existence. So there was this expansion of consciousness, the reason being to express that consciousness. And of course, there had to be some way of doing that. So an example would be for a musician to create music, for there to be music, for that musician to express their self musically, there must be the musician, the musical instrument, and a physical realm capable of sound waves. Only then can there be music. So, similarly, in order for oneness to express itself, spirit created a physical reality of separation. By fragmenting oneness, each truth can be expressed and realized. But this land of separation is an illusion because we are one. Everything is just one. There is what there is, and then there's all of the misperceptions of what there is. So everything in the physical realm, including our mind bodies, is an expansion of spirit. Furthermore, to believe in separation is problematic. And I think this really gets to the heart of the question. I think the question was, they were coming from a place where, well, if we're spirit, why don't we just be spirit instead of going through all this? And so there's this realm created for expression, but all this stuff, that people would think of, what it is the belief in separation and the problems associated with the belief in separation. Because when you believe in separation, that prevents the intended expression of spirit. In other words, all of this was created to express spirit, but when you buy into the uh, illusion, when you identify with physical reality, then you're actually creating a spiritual block preventing that expression. So, identification with anything in the physical realm, including our mind bodies, causes a block to spiritual expression rather than being a means of spiritual expression. So, there is a spiritual connection between all things. The secret to life in the physical realm is expression of spirit through the mind body into the physical realm. And spiritual connection is the topic of tonight's live. So let's see who we have in here so far. I see Tina and Kim and Sabrina. Yes, it has been a while. And Amy. Hi, Amy. Awesome. All right, so let's get started. We can start with what's hanging on the wall behind me. Directly behind me in black and white is what they call a mandala. And this one is different because it's just black and white. Most mandalas that you'll see are extremely colorful. This one's also unusual because it has a yin yang right in the middle of it. So the thing is that these two spiritual symbols combined express the unity of spiritual truth. In other words, the truth is always the truth. So that you'll find unity in that. Now, the mandala originated in Indian religions, and meaning over, Tibet, Hinduism, this kind of stuff. So the mandala is a spiritual symbol that represents the universe and all that's in it. And the circular mandala appears in the physical world as the sun, the moon, the earth, and in its patterns are found the circle of life: family, friends, community, birth, death, and all aspects of life. So the circular design of the mandala symbolizes the cycles of never-ending life. The mandala is used as a focusing device. That was the intent of it during meditation. So normally you'll see that a mandala is very complex and colorful. And when you gaze into the ideas, that you gaze into the center of it, and then the outside patterns capture all of the distractions of your mind, all the distractions of the physical world, all of the negative energy and thoughts, leaving only the spiritual essence of the observer. And this allows higher consciousness to emerge. So the chaotic mind is captured while in time, while spirit flows freely into the world. Spirit is a constant and connected to all that exists. Now, in the center of it is another symbol, the yin yang, and that is a symbol out of Chinese philosophy. One half is dark, negative, passive, feminine energy called yin, while the other is light, positive, active, and masculine energy called yang. These are uh, actually more complementary than opposing forces. A lot of people think that they're opposites, and in a sense they are, but they're really complementary. To understand Taoism and what the yin yang represents, you have to see this interaction in all things. So this interaction exists, and that interaction influences the destinies of all creation. The circle represents wholeness, the whole being greater than its parts. And everything, something else you need to understand about that is that everything has both yin and yang properties. It's not like they're one or the other. They're both. They might be leaning one way or the other, which is where balance comes in, is not to lean one way or the other. But they're everything has both yin and yang properties in it, both feminine and masculine energies in it. One cannot exist without the other. You look at anything in the physical world, you'll see that. One actually becomes the other in a never-ending cycle. So light and dark, for example, not only are their cycles endless, but they're unrecognizable without each other. A shadow cannot be cast without light. Moonlight reflecting on the water are not two separate events of cause and effect. And that's really what yin yang means, one event. So water is causing the moonlight to shine on it as much as moonlight is causing the water to reflect it. It's one event. One does not exist without the other, and there is an underlying connection. Spirit is constant and connected to all that exists. So both the mandala and the yin yang symbolize forces in the cycle of life. Recognizing these forces and living in harmony with them is spiritual wisdom. The secret to harmony is balance. When we live in balance, we rise above these forces, also known as being spiritually centered, which leads to ascension. Awareness and balance liberate us, resulting in enlightenment. Enlightenment is complete spiritual connection, and spiritual connection is the topic of tonight's live. So, see how that fits together? The circle, right? Let's see. Hi, Richard. How you doing? Hi, Cheryl. Love, laugh, and be happy in the house. And welcome, Baraka. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Baraka, welcome. All right, so let's continue on. Over this shoulder here, if you look on that wall, you'll see it's space. That's what it is. And that's another symbol for contemplation. Stars in space, matter and non-matter, energy existing in both. Our universe represents, or I should say, our universe resembles the physical and spiritual realms, as does the human brain. Thought energy travels along neural pathways and then jumps through synaptic gaps. So, for those of you that don't know what those are, there's these, I mean, unbelievable amounts of neural networks. Uh, they say it's like looking at the universe and all the stars and planets. But so there's these neural networks, and then there's space in between them. So the thought energy runs down the neural network, gets to this what they call a synaptic gap. There's this space, and the energy jumps across to the other side and completes the circuit. That's actually what's going on inside the brain. Now, matter, space, and energy, right? You've got energy running through the matter, and then it jumps through space and then into matter again. So just like the stars, the planets up in space, and light moving through space, you have energy, you have matter, and you have non-matter or space. I don't know if you've ever seen one, but if you look at a particular, not all of them, some of them are just colors, they're infrared or whatever. Some of them are more scans or x-rays. But there's certain types of brain scans that you can look at, and there's a stunning resemblance to the universe. You can actually see the energy operating in the brain. And if you were to compare it to, say, like a nebula or something, it would look almost identical. And a nebula being a big gas cloud with some stars and stuff in it out in space. So you can imagine the whole universe inside the mind, especially when you consider that our reality is actually a projection of our mind, both individually and collectively. We don't physically see or hear anything. We interpret energy and then project our interpretation onto the universe. What we call things, even the words we use to communicate, are meaningless other than our interpretation of the label that we assign to them. It's not reality. It's rather ideas about reality twice removed. I know that's I know it's like going off of the high dive. But the thing is, without consciousness, there's no meaning. In fact, it's a little weird to think about, but without consciousness, reality as we know it could not exist. Because since our reality is a projection, without our projection, there is no reality. Now, this is part of the reason why we call the physical world an elaborate illusion, because nothing is as it seems. We don't actually see anything. We don't actually hear anything. We don't actually touch anything. we perceive energy, and then we interpret that energy, and then we project that interpretation out into the universe, creating the reality that we experience. And we collectively do this as a race, creating this physical reality in which we live in. But everything is energy, and all physical matter is actually made of energy. It may appear solid, however, it's not solid. Everything in the physical world is also in a constant state of change. Nothing in the physical realm remains the same. Again, it's not what it appears to be. You see, the illusion is that there's this reality and this is the way it is, and we're just here and subject to it. But that's not the case. It's constantly changing. There's nothing that stays the same. It's not what it appears to be at all. Let's see if I missed anything here. Richard, when looking out into the world, we see the inside of our mind. Exactly. It's exactly what we see. It's all an interpretation of the energy that we're perceiving. But what we think we see and hear is not what we're seeing and hearing. It's just how we understand it. But the ultimate truth, then, can only be found in higher consciousness, right? Supreme consciousness or spirit always is what it is. Always. Always has been, always will be. And the strange thing is that unlike common consciousness, it's awareness aware of itself. It's consciousness conscious of itself. It conscious of itself is something other than all of this. But that's only really the beginning. That's just the beginning of spiritual awakening. That's only scratching the surface. The connection is that consciousness exists in the non-physical realm where there is no time nor space. So everything that ever has existed, everything that exists, and everything that ever will exist, all exists right now, right here within higher consciousness. Because this consciousness, at least higher consciousness, exists in this spiritual or non-physical realm where there's no time or space. So there's only this one thing, everything all at once. There is no separation. There's just this one thing, and it's, I mean, the only way you can call it spirit, you can call it conscious energy, you can call it consciousness, higher consciousness, but that's all that there is. It's some kind of intelligent energy is another way of looking at it. A lot of times we just say spirit, but we are of one spirit. It's the spiritual connection, and it's the only thing that doesn't change. It's the only constant. You can call it truth, you can call it reality, but this supreme consciousness is the only thing that always is what it is. And it's not just that we're connected to it, we are part of it. And that's the connection. Together we make up the whole. Again, we're one. Hi, Bonnie. You're welcome. Hi, Christina. So, what is consciousness? Well, we could get somewhat specific and divide it up into lower consciousness. Lower consciousness would, or lower levels of consciousness would consist of instinct and subconscious programming and ego-based existence, predominantly what runs the world in the state that it is at the moment. It's identification with physical existence, the mind body. It's a belief that this physical world that we live in is reality and the only reality, that this mind body is who we are, but that again is lower level consciousness, and it consists of instinct and subconscious programs, recordings, memories. It's an ego-based existence. In other words, the viewpoint of the ego is that all this is separated. There's a bunch of mind bodies interacting with other mind bodies, and there's here and there and past and present and future. This is ego-based thinking. Thinking is of the physical world. It's a byproduct of the brain. So there's no actual awareness, though, not what we would call higher consciousness. So higher levels of consciousness deal with spirit, consciousness aware of itself as something other than the mind body. Non physical conscious energy or spirit is expressing itself as matter and through matter. So it is both the physical world, spirit is manifesting as physical matter, but then when you get into higher life forms like humans, these consciousness, higher consciousness is actually expressed through them. But that's not the mind body. It's just a vehicle that makes this possible in the physical realm. So, non physical conscious energy or spirit is expressing itself as matter, and spirit is not only connected to, but responsible for the physical realm of reality. Now, some people would say that what a bunch of this is woo woo BS. This is running in circles. None of this can be proved. Hi, Katja, how you doing? It's just gobbledygook, spiritual gobbledygook. Well, I could see it at a glance, having been conditioned the way people are in this world, that would be the first reaction to something like this. But science tells us, and I'm talking cutting edge science, the most cutting edge science, the highest science that we have, tells us that not only is everything actually made of energy, but that this energy exists in both the non physical and the physical realms simultaneously. Now, this is science, okay? The best we got. And it's basically saying the same thing, that you have this physical realm and this non physical realm. And there's this energy, this intelligent energy that exists in both realms at the same time. So there's just, again, then, okay, if this intelligent energy exists in a non physical realm, then it is everything and it is the only thing, because without space and time, there is no separation. And yet it also exists in the physical realm. So the physical realm must be a sub reality of this higher reality. It can't be any other way. Or all of our science is junk. You see? So going back to science, when this energy is non-physical, it's in what they call the wave state or non-form. And when physical, it's in the particle state or form. So there's two different states that this energy can exist: wave and particle. Wave, it's in the non-form, and particle, it's in the in form. What happens is that they call it energy collapsing, because they can see energy as a wave. You can actually see it on a scope. And when this wave collapses, this energy then becomes particle and appears as solid matter. But it's actually almost going back and forth at such a high rate of speed that you wouldn't be able to see it, but it's happening. So it's in both states simultaneously. But as the wave, it's non-physical, and then as it collapses, it's particle or physical. Now, I'll probably do a live on on an experiment that's been done. I just have to come up with some drawings or props or something that I can show you how this stuff works, because it gets really strange. The energy behaves differently when it's being observed. I know. I know. As if this energy was conscious. But well, that's for another night. For now, just when energy in the wave collapses, it becomes particle. So this non-physical becomes physical. And as if this is not enough, particles remain connected even when they're separated by great distances. Einstein referred to this as spooky action at a distance. Particle entanglement is officially called quantum entanglement theory. And this is not only mathematically, yeah, that's the word. Mathematically, this is not only mathematically proven, science is actually able to watch it in experiments or prove this in experiments. Scientists separate entangled particles and then place them at a distance from each other. The thing is that no matter how far the distance, when one of the former entangled particles is manipulated, the other one instantly moves to a matching state. And although separated, they're somehow still connected. It's as if this behavior is intelligently directed. So higher consciousness is spirit. Spirit is beyond the physical universe. Spirit expresses itself through the mind body. Energy is how spirit manifests in the physical realm. And conscious energy manifests as physical matter. Energy makes up everything in the physical realm: stars, planets, plants, animals, and human bodies. Energy interacting with other energy is the foundation of the physical realm. And science tells us that energy can what? Cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only transfer from one state to another. Energy flows, and spirit directs that flow. So energy is connected. Our universe, our planet, plants, animals, humans, all connected. Energy is how everything is connected, and spirit is why everything is connected. The same energy flows through everything in the universe, directed by spirit. And humans are, in essence, spirit. Higher consciousness is awareness of that spirit. Now, here's the thing: you know the truth. You have always known the truth. It is deep within you. You have access to it and can live it while in human form. To live as spirit while in human form is a very high level of consciousness called spiritual mastery. And that requires a spiritual connection. So you see how this all ties together? I know that was a lot. That's a lot for one night. But notice how everything is connected. Notice how, no matter how we look at it, with physics or mathematics or ancient spiritual teachings or our own physical experience or our own experience of it, it's all the same. It doesn't change no matter how we look at it. One definition of the truth is something that can never be proven wrong. Another way of looking at it is that it's always the same. It never changes. But everything in the physical realm changes. But spirit always is what it is. So you see the difference there, the distinction between the two. When you're trying to decide, if you're thinking, I mean, we do think. There's nothing wrong with that, but consider thinking more like a calculator that you take out when you have some analysis to do. And you punch in the information and you get the answer, okay, and then you put the calculator away. Think of thinking that way. It's great for analyzing things, but it's not the same thing as experiencing things. Thinking is something that is based on memories, things that you've learned, and you connect them together into more and more and more complex ideas that we call intelligence. But it's really all memory based, and so it's not experiencing, not live time. That's what spirit is. Spirit is what it is. In the physical realm, nothing is as it seems, and it's always in a state of change. And thinking is a byproduct of this stuff. It's not who you are. You have thoughts and emotions, but that's not who you are. So think about that. And the spiritual connection. Maybe we'll do a healing circle here in a couple minutes, and we'll try to work on, you know, accessing that, connecting spiritually. The real trick, if you want to master it, is to try to or master spirituality. That is to try to maintain that consciousness in all that you do. Meditation can help you learn how to do that, but then you want to take it out of meditation so that you have that awareness and that connection in everything you do. You basically become a portal in which spirit flows through and into the physical world. Again, going all the way back to the beginning, it's why we came here. Going back to the question of the week, why is all of this? This was something, an expansion of consciousness for the expression of consciousness, higher consciousness, that is, spirit. So thinking, again, because it takes you out of experience and into memories, into the ego, is not expressing that spirit, is it? It's low level stuff. No matter how smart it is, genius doesn't matter. It's still low level stuff. Higher level consciousness is opening up and allowing this other realm to flow freely into this one. There's really no separation. They coexist. And I think that's what quantum physics really proves when, they get into this stuff about the energy existing in both states simultaneously. They're basically saying that these realms are one and the same, but they're experienced differently. But when you think, you're actually pulled out of experience. So don't think about thinking as who you are, your thoughts and emotions as who you are. That's what I mean when I say identify. That's what I'm talking about. When you think that they are who you are, or that this body that you're in is who you are, or that your personality is who you are, or that the roles you play in life is who you are. None of that is who you are. It's just a game of life. All an illusion, and it's all in a constant state of change. But your essence, spirit, is a constant. It always is what it is, always has been, always will be. I'm saying energy can be created. According to Einstein, it only transfers from one state to another. That energy is just energy, and it can transfer from one state to another, but it's never created or destroyed. So the same energy that exists in all that there is. And one way of looking at this is that energy is and energy interacting with other energy is responsible for everything going on in the physical universe, but there's something directing it. So that directing force you could call spirit. So you go back to the 13.8 billion years ago when the universe was created. According to science, nothing existed. A more correct statement would be the physical realm did not exist. Something must have existed because it created all of this. So in this realm of non-form, I mean, they're aware of it. They just don't know what to make of it. because it's beyond the physical world, and science is based on the physical world, based on physical laws of the universe. But beyond this universe, it just doesn't stop. And it was created at one point. They call it the Big Bang. So think of that there had to have been energy that transferred from the non-physical realm to the physical realm, creating all of this, and is still doing it today. But there's an intelligence behind all of it, and that's what I'm calling spirit or higher consciousness. Spirit not meaning necessarily Casper the Ghost, but meaning an intelligent energy, consciousness that has no form. I know it's hard to understand, but it just is. That's all you can really say about it. It just is. It is what it is. Jesus said, "I am that I am." They ask him, "Who are you?" "I am." Because as soon as you start saying, "Oh, well, I'm a spiritual teacher. I was born a carpenter. I'm Jewish." As soon as you start saying these things, now you're no longer talking about who you are. You're talking about physical attributes of life in a physical realm, which is not really who you are. They're just physical attributes. Happen to be the incarnation that you came in. It was this time, these customs, the ideas that were taught, but none of that was who he was. And he was able to express his full being, his full spiritual being while he was here. He didn't have the limitations that most of us do with our false beliefs and our subconscious programs and our identification with ego. Water, friction, wind turbines, solar all create energy. They're actually converting energies, transferring from one state to another. When you boil water, you get steam, but you're putting energy with the heat from the fire into the water, and as it increases in temperature, it turns into steam. But the energy is transferring from the fire to the water. From the water, the result is the steam. The same with the wind turbines. The wind is blowing. That's energy. That's energy, and it spins this turbine. And by spinning this turbine, there's a motor in there, windings, and a magneto, and that generates a magnetic field, which creates electricity. But what you're doing is you're transferring the energy of the wind into electricity. So we think about it in terms of creating energy, but it's really just transferring from one state to another. Same with solar. You're taking solar energy and converting it into electricity. All right. So any other questions about any of that? I know it's kind of gnarly, but some of these topics it's just how they are. I try to make it as simple as I can, but sometimes I wonder if it's still, a little out there. And if it is, ask. I mean, otherwise I just assume you're following it and I move on. So if there's any further questions, go ahead and put them in the comment box and we can get into that. But let's move on to a healing circle. Let me get this up here. There we go. All right. So everybody gather around, join hands. Gently close your eyes and mouths, breathing through the nose down to an area just about the belly button. And then exhale back out through the nose. And another deep breath way down. And then exhale back out the nose. You feel the energy moving through the circle, hand to hand. Even though we're a distance, we aren't. You feel that? If not, don't worry about it. But if you do, just take note of it. If you feel the energy moving around the circle from hand to hand. All right, so breathe in deep, inhale the peace, and exhale all tension. And another deep breath, inhale peace, and exhale all tension. One more time, breathe in peace, and exhale all tension. Now settle into the relaxation. Let the physical world go for a while. Let the healing energy build and flow and move deep into the body. Notice any sensations and allow them to be. Observe them without judgment. They are merely sensations of the mind body. Now move deeper inward. Notice any emotions and allow them to be. Observe them without any judgment. They are merely sensations of the mind body. Move even deeper inward. Notice any thoughts and allow them to be. Observe them without any judgment. They are merely sensations of the mind body. Move deeper inward towards source. Still the mind body by letting everything settle and release any remaining tension. Let go of any remaining stress. Let go of all resistance to this moment. You are safe. There is nothing to fear. Let go of the past. Let go of the future. Observe what is without judgment or reaction. Now completely let go of the mind body. Trust what you are experiencing. You are now identified with your higher self. You are one with what is. You are this moment. And there's nothing to heal because you are pure conscious energy. Let's just sit with that for a minute and then we'll continue. Okay, now before we close, let's send this vibe out to the world. Oneness consciousness. Total healing taking place, total peace on earth, because there is only one consciousness and we are all a part of it. There's no separation. Some would call it a state of love, because without all the negativity created by the belief in separation, that which is left could be called love, unconditional love. And so let's send that out to the world. Everyone unconditionally. And so it is. All right. Katya's asking if this is frozen. Not that I'm aware of. But I don't see anything after that, so perhaps. I know we have some wind right now, and we get that a lot in the desert, and because this is broadcast via satellite, sometimes it messes with our signal. All right. Well, oh, there we go. Kim says hers is still moving. But I don't see any other questions. Thank you, Cheryl. So we'll call it a night. I honor the God within you. And remember, until the next time, the only way to bring about the greater good is to be the greater good.